Welcome back, everyone. Nice to see you here. Hey, Robert, ready to get going?
Yeah, great. As we discussed in our intro video, we would like to go a little bit deeper in our discussion about integration with Microsoft Azure and SAP. And of course, we would like to start with our first session. We already announced what we are planning to do here. We will start with very basic stuff, which means integration really with Azure Active Directory. What does it mean? How to integrate? Why we need it? And so on. So, Martin, I think we already defined on the GitHub some documentation.
Yeah, but before we go there, Robert, so for since the theme of the series is the hitchhiker's guide to development topics for Microsoft Teams, so first you need to get your towel to get ready.
Exactly. It's here. Yeah, ready. So now we can start officially.
So here's the introductory page. Yeah.
Exactly.
And we defined a couple of learning objectives. Mm-hmm. And as we go, we're looking to add lectures based upon feedback and what we see in the field or from your partner discussions, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And the very first one.
Yeah, and once more, why we are doing that? I mean, we have very good documentation. Our colleagues and you, Martin, also provide very nice blogs, step-by-step blogs, where we can really follow those blogs and try to really integrate that with SAP backends or SAP Business Platform. But we think it's much better if we try to repeat once more that we follow also our documentation, our blogs, and try to create this video and show you how it is very easy to do something like that.
Yes, because blogs and descriptions can only do so much, Yep. And a short video will probably make it even easier. So it's a good reason why to add some other materials. So first lecture. This is about the famous trust and single sign-on setup. That's the basis for actually every integration that we do, between Microsoft and SAP. And in here, I'm referencing one of the latest, more recent blogs where we added specifically the BTP cloud portal into Teams. And we are just going to run through the steps and see how quick we can finish to actually see the app loading through Azure AD single sign-on in Teams.
And also, what is very important, this series of video, let's say that we are on level 300. So in Microsoft, we have 100 till 400 levels. So let's say 300, but that means that we will not explain what is Azure Active Directory. We will not explain how to integrate on-premise Active Directory with Azure Active Directory, and we will somehow ignore some basic stuff because we will take assumption that you already know that, or you can find very easily in our documentation or somewhere on the internet more details about specific topics.
Very true. Very good addition there, Robert. About the assumptions and how to look at this. All right. So in here, we're checking the descriptions. So we need to be able to make certain admin-related changes, in the environment. That's Azure AD. We need to be able on Teams to add like web apps to channels, And on BTP, we also need to be able to make trust-related adjustments on the SUP account, So of course we need to have certain environments, So the Teams tenant, for which we also have a trial, if that's required, which I will even add to this post here, so that doesn't become a hurdle. And in the end, the exact steps are outlined on the blog post.
Mm-hmm. This is a part of series for blogs which are written by you and another Martin colleague now. So it's very detailed steps, and we will not go out of those steps there. So we really follow those steps. It's also good to test our documentation. Maybe we missed something. But actually, we will really try to follow what is documented there. So just for you, will be probably much easier to put the break and go into the documentation, maybe go in the system, go in configuration, change something, and just continue with the video.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll notice today if the screenshots in here describe enough, yeah, for us to recreate, yeah, after a couple of weeks.
Okay,
all right. So then let's head into Azure AD and create our enterprise application, yes, to move forward with the trust setup. And what are we looking to connect? I've already prepared a Launchpad service. Yeah, so within my business technology platform, we have this very simple Launchpad with just one category and one app, yeah, so that we can prove the working setup.
Okay.
So, and on this tenant, so far there's only the SAP default identity provider, which is the SAP ID service configured, yeah, which you're used to like this, yeah. So with every application that you log in on BTP, you're presented with this login screen if you haven't just configured anything else. Yeah? So Azure AD.
So we now presented SAP Identity Management System. Now we are presenting Microsoft Azure Identity Management System.
Yes. And I need my specialized demo account here. So this is the type of user you get when you sign up with a trial instance for Microsoft 365, which includes Teams as well. Yeah. Using the default admin that you're getting once you signed up. Yeah. So there we go. Fresh portal. And I'm choosing Azure Active Directory. And in here, we're looking to create a new enterprise application, which is the default step that you have to do in order to set up a trust with SAP backends. Yeah? So, and now we're here on this step. And once I type SAP here, we will see the same screens. Yeah? So there we go. So there's quite a list there. And since we're looking to integrate with business technology platform, the name here is still SAP Cloud Platform, yeah, but it's the same, yeah. So let's give it a name. Do you have a suggestion, Robert?
Just continue with our.
So this is now the towel environment.
Exactly.
Create. And this is like a pre-configured template, which makes a couple of assumptions, yes, to make it easier for you to configure this kind of trust setup. Yeah?
Okay.
So while this is pinging there, let's see what we get here next. So it wants us to go to single sign-on next and
parameters.
Yeah, configure here just a couple of parameters. So this the creation finished. Now we're moving on to this single sign-on step. And since it's SAML based, yeah, I'm choosing this.
So what we are now actually describing, we are defining like endpoint on identity management from Microsoft side in Azure Active Directory to be able to answer the question from SAP Identity Management. Yeah, and we need to provide some kind of properties that they can understand each other, so to say. Correct?
And also trust each other. Yeah. So
trust each other. Yeah, correct. Yeah. It's the most important part.
Even though trust in the galaxy is a difficult one and very important to survive. Yeah?
True.
So we need an identifier. Let's see what we have here. In here. So there's the configuration guide. But I thought I could even upload this. So because in here, that's the edit one. So once we finish here, we can download from here for BTP. But I thought here I could also
upload is in the right corner if you upload.
Ah, yeah, there it is. Upload metadata. Exactly. So, but in order to upload from here, we first need to collect from here. Yeah. And for this one, we download the SAML metadata of the sub account. Yeah. So that is also important. We're creating the trust not for the global account, but for a specific sub account, which is a concept within BTP to group services and everything. Yeah. So downloading this, and next we're uploading. And downloads here. There we go. And nice. So we got the identifier ID. We also got the reply URL, but the sign-on URL has not been filled. So let's check what we have here. So there's the notification that we should check the alias, and the sign-on URL is identical with the domain here. Yeah? So let's check in here what the alias is. Looks good to me. Yeah. So we're just copying from here then the rest. Let's double check. But looks good. The rest is optional. Yeah, the logout URL here has been filled already. So we can now hit save here.
And just to explain why we are really, I mean, maybe someone think that we prepare this acting, but we really agree between ourselves that we will not prepare at all. So we just want to, if we face some error, we want to share this error with you, that you're also learning if something's go wrong because we forget something to configure. So we just really want to work together with you. Probably is much easier for us because we already did that several times. But as you see, we are not preparing ourselves to somewhere have some one node with all those URLs and just copy paste them. We are really trying to figure out, okay, how to do it together with you.
That's a very good point, Robert. So now we don't want to test yet. We're not ready. So how do we continue? So our next step here is to move to the other side. Yeah. On BTP and exactly. Yeah. And before we go there, let's check the attributes and claims. Yeah. So this is now saying for our SAML assertions, we're going to use the UPN, yeah, and the name, the format email address to identify users. Yeah. Which is fine for us, yeah, because we're dealing with the email addresses. Yeah.
And this point, exactly, and this point is my opinion where most of the customers or partners make mistake. Yeah, they just simply forget what they defined here, and they spend hours and hours figuring out why it's not working. Because on SAP side, we are expecting, for example, a username and we define here email, so that we will simply not match these users from one side to users on another side, because they need to find a way how to match them. Yeah, and they say, hey, Robert at Microsoft is there. Okay, I will continue. If Robert at Microsoft is not there, you'll say, hey, I don't know what you are talking about. And so be careful when you're defining this on Azure side and also on SAP side. Must be the same.
Exactly, yeah. And we're now making the assumption that we are dealing with people. Yeah, so that's why UPN. So for this case, it's a good idea. If higher abstractions are required, you could also think about other means. Yeah, but for BTP, we need email addresses. Yeah, because BTP Cloud Foundry requires email addresses. Yeah. Okay, so then we leave this as is, and we're downloading the certificate from here. So I believe we can take this one, the Federation Metadata XML. So we're downloading this one. And we're moving now back here to create a new IDP. Yeah? So naming is important. The cloud environment, yeah. So, and we're giving it a name. Everything is already filled for us. So in here, we can provide a name that is shown, yeah, when you make your first login. Because if you keep as is, you will see two identity providers, yeah, on your login list, and it's important to have a good one here so that users can identify which one is the relevant for me. Yeah. So we can call this Azure AD, for instance. And we don't care about the other checkboxes yet. Yeah. And save. So at this point, I believe we have already made a huge change in our environment. Shall we check what happened, Robert?
Let's see.
So the login link before was this one. So if I get it from here again, this is my former session, yeah. What happens now? Okay, so this is already taking care of this, yeah. So we have two identity providers now. But do we have a user with email address? Do we have someone on the other side? Yeah. So, but we made a configuration here where we said create shadow users on logon, yes. Yeah. So I expect if I take my my demo user now, it will do something about this. Yeah?
Okay.
So let's say we want Azure AD now, and let's reuse the Microsoft 365 admin. Swoosh. Okay, so that means we are going back to Azure AD, checking on those users here. Yeah? So that's what I expect. Yeah, the complaint there was about it's not authorized to use this enterprise app, even though I'm also not the owner. So even though I created it. Yeah? So let's add ourselves here. Usually you would do this with a group, yeah. So you don't do this individually for people, but for the sake of the demo, we are doing this now individually for me. So here you see all the other demo users in the system, but we need the mod admin. Select, sign. So now we can try again. We haven't asked that before. Sounds better.
Yep.
Very nice.
Yep.
So Robert, we already have Azure AD configured with the Launchpad service now.
So what we did here is just actually we enabled that someone when reached the SAP platform, SAP business platform in this example, he or she has the option to select, okay, which identity provider I would like to use. Yeah? And then I will choose the Azure Active Directory. So I will use my username and password, which exists on Azure Active Directory. Then because we have a trust between two identity managers, management repository, let's say like that, then actually the handshake already exists. So he will check the against Azure Active Directory, say, yeah, you exist. Token will go back to SAP system, and SAP system will say, yes, I trust that. And then we are actually going inside our demo application.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very simple when we explain, but it's still sometimes configuration nightmare, because especially if you want to polish that a little bit, to go a little bit deeper in different settings. Of course, on Azure Active Directory side, if we now have something like multi-factor authentication, it's also enabled automatically here. So, for example, if we have different policy which will trigger multi-factor authentication if I'm outside of Germany, for example, I will receive that multi-factor authentication, which I need a second factor I need to use, for example, with my mobile. So I automatically receive or getting all those features which I configure on Azure Active Directory, and vice versa when we are going from SAP perspective.
Very true, yeah.
Nice. I mean, it's everything, as we already mentioned, is described as now documentation. So it's just a first step, because this kind of integration, or this kind of integration between SAP and Azure is very important, because everything else, like team integration or Outlook integration, any kind of office integration, actually this is the first main pillar, or main step which we need to do anyhow. So to have this trust to identity management repository.
Exactly, yeah. And we did this for a specific type of SAP environment, which was the business technology platform, or you call it the cloud platform. But for the other options, so they're also predefined templates, so today we're going to finish this one for Microsoft Teams. But going forward, we will also look at the other ones, like the NetWeaver here, for instance.
Let's say standalone landscape, SAP landscape, NetWeaver or S4HANA. Okay, great. So we successfully finalized our first video. And we will continue in the next videos to guide you through all those settings as we promised. And finally, to reach this integration with Teams, and we'll also help you to develop small application on Microsoft Teams and see how to interact, how to communicate with backend systems, how to get the data from backend systems. So stay tuned, and till next video.
See you then, Robert.
See you. Bye-bye.